Hello and welcome to Industry Today, the podcast powered by MTC Events. My name is Lauren Chambers and I am delighted to be joined today by Kristin Baker, Vice President for Industrial and Process Automation for Schneider Electric in the UK and Ireland. Today's conversation will explore the UK's industrial strategy. We will be talking about digitisation, decarbonisation and skills, which I know, Kristin, is something that you're particularly passionate about. But before we dive into it, let's just set the scene and give some context to today's conversation. So the Modern Industrial Strategy was set out by government in June of earlier this year. It's a 10-year plan, which is promising a lot, I think it's fair to say. It talks about boosting investment and employment. It talks about improving productivity. It talks about strengthening economic and business resilience. It talks about the drive towards net zero. And within this plan, it identifies 8 key target sectors. So what the government are calling the growth driving sectors, which include advanced manufacturing, clean energy industries, and digital and technologies. Mm-hmm. Within that, obviously, there's crossover into other growth driving sectors like defence. So I guess the point is there's an awful lot packed in here for UK manufacturing. Kristin, I think it's fair to say when the strategy was first announced, one of the big responses was, this has been a long time coming, right? Yes. A lot of people, businesses, sectors have been waiting for this for a very long time. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I think it's a really welcome development. So as you said, there's been a prolonged period of uncertainty. And I think it's really encouraging to see now kind of a 10-year long-term vision from the government that helps manufacturers prioritize innovation, investment, and very segment-specific growth. The framework really provides much-needed stability for businesses and investors, and the targeted support for these key sectors like digital technology, clean energy, and advanced manufacturing really shows a strong commitment from the government to helping future-proof the UK economy. I'm particularly optimistic about the significant funding for R&D, the focus on skills development, and I think it's really going to be critical for helping the UK maintain its global leadership and competitiveness. So overall, I think it feels like a very bold, forward statement in the right direction.
You talked about clean energy, you talked about digital. So why do those two things in particular have to go hand in hand to support the future of UK manufacturing?
Yeah, so I think if we look at digitisation as kind of the engine, and decarbonisation is really the destination, both are essential for the journey towards this sustainable future. When we look at digitisation, it really gives us the tools. So the real-time data, AI, automation to really help and understand and optimize every part of the production process. That means that we can understand how to reduce waste, improve energy efficiency, and really make smarter decisions on where to optimize. On the flip side, decarbonisation is really the goal. So where are we heading? I think here it's about cutting emissions, building more sustainable operations. You can't really manage what you can't see. So the digitization piece helps us measure that, then be able to manage it. And that's really where the digital technology comes in. So I think whether it's tracking carbon footprints across supply chains, using predictive maintenance to extend our footprints, or we use predictive maintenance to extend the equipment life, digital solutions are really essential for helping us hit those net zero targets. So I think if we're serious about building a greener future, making the UK more competitive for manufacturing, these two strategies, digitization and decarbonisation, are really essential for moving forward.
And what do you think are some of the biggest barriers to UK businesses with respect to digitisation and decarbonisation?
I think one of the biggest barriers they face is in implementing the smarter, greener operations is the upfront costs. And it's really critical for small and medium-sized enterprises. So investing in the digital technologies, the energy efficient equipment, the low carbon, often requires significant capital. And the return on investment isn't always immediate. I think another major major challenge is the skill. So there's a growing need for a workforce that really understands both digital tools and sustainability practices, but the talent pipeline hasn't quite caught up. There's really this complexity around legacy systems as well. So how do manufacturers take what they have today and update it or retrofit or integrate it with the new technologies? And I think that can make it really difficult for businesses to find the right balance there. And finally, I think when it comes to policy, having the regulatory uncertainty that we've had over the past few years can make it difficult for businesses to plan long term. So while the UK industrial strategy is a really great step in the right direction, I think we need now consistency and supportive policy to help give industry the confidence to invest in transformation.
And is the industrial strategy being seen as a support and a tool for the cost implications that we've talked about at the start? You said it's, some of this stuff is very expensive for businesses and they don't necessarily have the capital themselves. There's obviously a lot of talk about investment and funding available. Do you see the industrial strategy as a very positive step in the right direction to support businesses with that?
Definitely.
Yeah.
The UK has one of the highest industrial energy costs in the world. Over the last year, the industrial electricity price was 25 pence per kilowatt hour. To put that in perspective, that's significantly higher than Germany, France, Spain, and nearly 4 times higher than the US. So it's not just about the cost of the energy, but it's also about the structure of how the costing works in the UK. So we're dealing with a high mix of gas dependency, network changes, and policy-related levies, which all add up. I think as well, the UK, though, does have the opportunity to lead on the sustainability front. And this is definitely a step in the right direction on establishing our leadership in that space. The industrial strategy includes legally binding targets to help reduce the 5 major air pollutants by 2030. And this is going to have the impact on our overall health from the air pollution. I think there's also a really strong push towards net zero with sector-specific plans for clean energy and advanced manufacturing. And I think these options really allow the UK to kind of re-cement its position. So while there's great ambition in terms of sustainability, I think the overall affordability needs addressing to make us successful in the long term.
You talked about how the UK compares to other nations, and I know that Schneider Electric is very active around the world. What is it that that you as a business are doing to showcase your commitment to UK manufacturing?
I think we're doing a lot. And last year we made a huge announcement that we are investing in a new £40 million manufacturing facility in Scarborough. So it's brand new, state of the art. It's going to triple our current operation capacity. It's going to create 200 new jobs in the local area. So definitely a major boost for the local economy, and I think a really strong signal of our commitment. The other great side of this, though, is it's not just about expanding our operation, but it's about making it more sustainable. The new plant is designed to be net zero from a Scope 1 and Scope 2 emission perspective. Half of the roof is going to be covered in solar panels, which will generate 30% of the site's energy. The rest of it will come from renewable sourced energy. We're installing one of Europe's first fully electric paint lines. So it's a great achievement. And the building itself is targeting BREEAM Excellent certification. So really a showcase in a sustainable building perspective.
An amazing showcase for what you guys are doing in the UK, but also, these opportunities do exist in the UK. It's just finding, the right location, the right partners to deliver that. So
exactly.
You talked about obviously the rising cost of energy in the UK in particular. That must impact the ability for the UK to be competitive on a global scale. Do you experience that within Schneider?
We do and we don't. So I think we look at each of our markets independently, but also collectively. So I think UK remains strategically important to Schneider Electric, and we believe it has the potential to kind of regain its leadership position in manufacturing. The UK unfortunately dropped over the last year to number 12 position in terms of manufacturing globally from 8 the year before. If we're comparing the UK, like what's good and what's bad compared to other countries where Schneider Electric is operating, I think when we look at France, they have a really stable energy price, which goes back to that previous part of our conversation about giving that commitment to businesses to plan and to invest over the future. France also has really strong private-public partnerships when it comes to R&D. So I think it's something we could learn from more here in the UK. When we look at Germany, they have a really strong foundation in advanced manufacturing, and then this really drives their strong export market as well. If we look at what we would maybe reinforce the UK to try and kind of bridge some of the gaps, it's the infrastructure that Germany and the Netherlands have put in place. So they've really built out the infrastructure needed to accelerate this kind of journey around electrification and digitization. So I think the UK needs to do a bit to catch up in that space.
So some strong learnings to be taken from European counterparts in those areas in particular.
Yeah, for sure.
What kind of policy clarity or direction do you think helps attract manufacturing investment into the UK in particular? I guess the industrial strategy is a huge step forward in that.
Yeah, so I think it's definitely around this long-term vision for industry, and it's great to see the government kind of lay that out now. And this is going to go beyond election cycles. So I think that's kind of the conundrum we got stuck in the UK.
Yeah.
When businesses really see that commitment from government, I think they're more likely to invest. So whether it's new facilities, whether it's more R&D, workforce development, I think it really gives the confidence and the certainty that the UK is open for business and a great place to do business. I think the next piece around this energy policy and carbon pricing is critical. So as we were talking, UK having one of the highest industrial energy prices from our peer countries. So I think laying out a clear policy and strategy on how we're going to bring those down for manufacturers is really critical for the future.
You've spoken before about the role of manufacturing in the new energy landscape. That's something that is critical to your role and what Schneider are doing. What do you see as its biggest opportunities or responsibilities?
So I think manufacturing absolutely has a critical role to play in the new energy landscape. On one hand, it's a major consumer, but on the other hand, it's a powerful enabler.
Yeah.
So if I look at first the opportunities, I guess it's really around the clean tech leadership. Manufacturers have a huge opportunity to play an important role in leading on green technologies, whether it's producing components for wind turbines, EV batteries, smart grid systems. The global demand for low carbon solutions continues to grow, and the UK manufacturers are really well placed to address that. If we look at the next opportunity, it's probably around digital transformation. Digitization allows manufacturers to optimize their energy use, to reduce waste and improve overall efficiency. And that's not just good for the planet, it's good for business as well. And then if we look at the last opportunity, I'd say it's probably around this reshoring and resilience. So post-COVID, there's been this shift towards more localized, resilient supply chains. And I think that opens up a lot of opportunity for UK manufacturing to grow, especially if we can offer that low carbon, high quality production commitment. The UK overall accounts for 24%, the manufacturing industry accounts for 24% of the UK's total energy consumption. So I think there's also this next part, which is the responsibility.
Yeah.
And that's around helping decarbonize their operations. Manufacturing accounts to between 10 to 15% of the UK's emissions, depending on the year. So there's really a piece of work to do around electrification, energy efficiency, and switching to renewables when it comes to UK-based manufacturing. I think there's this other responsibility around sustainable design and circularity. So it's not just about how things are made, but what's being made. So they need to think about product life cycles, about recyclability, and reducing the overall embedded carbon in our products. And then lastly, it's probably around the workforce transition. So manufacturers have a responsibility to make sure as we move into these green technologies that no one's left behind. So how do we upskill? How do we reskill? How do we make sure that we're future-proofing our workforce as well?
We talked a lot about the cost of energy, and I know that was one of the barriers that the government have identified in the industrial strategy. Another one is around grid connection and infrastructure, which I know is something, again, that Schneider are very active in. And I know that the industrial strategy has or will be launching the Connections Accelerator service to support that. Do you think enough is being done to support businesses with the challenges that we have in the UK with grid connection and infrastructure?
I think we're making a good start. This is a really critical issue. And if you look at the stats today, there's over 739 gigawatts of projects in the backlog. So they're stuck in the queue.
Wow.
There's been 1,700 new applications over the last 2 years. And I think part of this was the way the process was set out before. So Ofgem has approved just a major reform now to the old process, which was first come, first serve based. Now this is going to be first ready, first needed, first connected. So that means if you're generally ready to go with a new factory or a clean energy installation, you'll have first priority from a grid connection perspective. So I think it's a great step forward. As you mentioned, the government's also launching this Connection Accelerator service. And I think this is another great initiative to kind of fast track that grid access for industrial projects. And it's going to help avoid those long delays manufacturers have experienced in the past.
Um, what role can companies like Schneider play in helping manufacturers adapt to new energy systems?
Hmm. I think Schneider has a really critical role to play. And we're in a unique position because we operate at the intersection of energy, automation, and digital transformation.
Hmm.
So we're not just a supplier, we're looking really to be that partner for manufacturers to help them along their digitization and decarbonization journey. So Schneider provides the infrastructure, so the electric switchgear, microgrids, EV charging systems that really help enable that full electrification. We can also help integrate renewable energy solutions into their operations. And this will really go a long way till achieving those net zero goals. I think as well, many manufacturers are working with outdated equipment.
Right.
So one of the challenges we all struggle from is this legacy systems. So I think Schneider has the ability to help them retrofit and connect and digitize those assets. So it'll prolong the useful life, make them more efficient and connected. And I think that's a more cost-effective way to modernize than just completely ripping and replacing everything. Schneider's also investing in workforce development. So we talked about skills as one of the key for the future. So we're working with various universities around apprenticeships, degree apprenticeships, digital training tools, and partnerships with other education providers. So we think that's a really critical aspect of the energy transition. It's not just about technology; it's really about the people too.
Let's talk about that because I think that's
Mm.
a hugely important point. I read somewhere that in the industrial strategy, the word skills featured 140 times.
Wow.
And I know it's a big document, but that's how, how threaded through it is every element of the strategy.
Mm.
And there's been talk of £275 million investment into skills. And it's something that comes up on any podcast we do, any topic that we talk about. Skills is an element of that, whether that's in a good or bad way. And the skills gap is a theme that runs through UK manufacturing and continues to do so. What's your view on skills, and do you think that the industrial strategy is setting out to do enough to help combat those skills challenges we have in the UK?
I think it's making a good start. So I'm really passionate about STEM, and I think it's foundational to achieving the industrial strategy. So if we're really serious about building this competitive, sustainable, future-ready industrial base, we need to commit more of our resources to STEM, or that's for sure. I think it's really critical for helping us drive innovation.
Hmm.
So when we look at AI in manufacturing, clean energy systems, or advanced robotics, all come back to this core STEM background. I think the industrial strategies focused on sectors like advanced manufacturing, clean energy, and life science really depend on us having this strong STEM skill set within the country. I think STEM can also help us boost our productivity in those sectors we're talking about, and that's one of the big challenges the UK has today. So by equipping people with these tools to help automate, analyze, and innovate, I think we'll unlock those efficiency gains and be more competitive. And then I think it also help us challenge or tackle some of these global challenges. So climate change, energy security, digital transformation, they're all going to rely on STEM to solve them. So I think the industrial strategy really goes a long way towards recognizing that we need to invest in the skills, and they're going to be critical for our future.
How do you think we build that pipeline of talent? So obviously we know what's needed now. We probably have an idea of what's needed in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, but maybe not what's needed in the next 10 years. How do we build that talent pipeline? Because I from speaking to other people and this conversation, I get the sense of, it's always maybe a little bit too late. We're not necessarily future-proofing the talent that businesses need, particularly with the speed at which technology is advancing. How do we do that, do you think?
I think first it starts probably with the early education.
Yeah.
So working with primary and secondary schools to really make STEM a topic that they're learning about on a daily basis. It's helping reinforce the resources that the teachers have, making sure there's more hands-on learning, and these stronger links between industry and education. So people coming in from industry and explaining what their daily job is, or helping the kids, get more hands-on with the actual technology.
Yeah.
I think if they can see the real world impact of engineering and technology, kids are much more likely to pursue it. Second, I think it's around expanding those vocational pathways. So university isn't the only route into STEM. We need to elevate the status of apprenticeships, of technical colleges, and on-the-job training. Programs like T levels and degree apprenticeships are a great start. but we need to provide more visibility and support for students moving into these pathways. Uh, Next, I think it's investing in this lifelong learning. So we talked about the skill gap. I think the pace of change in industry is so rapid today that we really needed to make it easier for people to continue to reskill and upskill throughout their career. So this means more flexible, modular training available, making sure we have the digital learning platforms in place and employer-backed development programs to bring people along. And then I think lastly, it's about strengthening this industry education partnerships.
Yeah.
So manufacturers should be really helping co-design the curriculum with universities and colleges, and making sure that there's placements available, that there's industrial mentors available to students. Because I think when we're aligning those education curriculums with our real world needs, everyone's going to win.
Needs to be fit for purpose, doesn't
Yeah,
it? Rather than
absolutely.
just the theory.
Hmm.
I also think your point around helping younger people understand the real world impact of what they could be doing. So we're obviously talking about driving towards net zero, and that's a huge part of the conversation and the agenda. So and society does change, and I think a lot of younger people want to be seen to be making a difference and contributing to something bigger.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a huge opportunity that maybe UK manufacturing as a whole isn't getting quite right at the moment to articulate that to younger people. How do we better connect with younger people, particularly those kind of underrepresented groups, female engineers, people that might be slightly harder to reach? How do you think that we showcase the opportunities in advanced manufacturing to them?
I think representation really does matter. So when they can see that there's diverse role models out there who are thriving in the engineering, digital technology,
Mhm.
robotics space, they'll start to believe it, right? If you can see it, you can believe it.
Yeah.
I think giving them that early exposure back to like this STEM and early education and that real world experience is also really important. So bringing that manufacturing aspect to life in schools, what does it really mean? And I think that's again back to our point around getting more hands on with
Yeah.
STEM, factory tours, more activities within industry, partnerships with local employers, programs that really encourage STEM in schools and really help bring that to life. And then I think it's about the mentorship and support networks. Mentorship can really be a game changer. And I know it's been critical for me throughout my career. So I think pairing young people with mentors in the industry who maybe have come from a similar background like them, I think will really go a long way to helping them build that confidence and open doors and navigate their overall career journey.
I was going to say exactly that. It helps them see the journey that they could potentially go
Yeah.
on and be inspired to do it, and maybe feel more confident in taking that role because they can see someone that's done something similar. So I think the point around engaging with younger people is really important, and I think it's a long-term game that businesses have to play when they're doing that. But what we're talking about is the strategy is 10 years, but it's setting stuff up for a lot longer than that. So we need to know that younger people that are at primary school age now will be interested in doing these kind of roles in 10, 15 years time. So what gives you hope or optimism about the UK manufacturing sector right now? I'm assuming the industrial strategy is a big part of that. It's
Yeah.
giving clarity for businesses that have been seeking it for a long time.
Yeah, I think when I look at all the challenges, whether it's the energy costs, the supply chain disruption, the skill shortage, I think I see manufacturers really stepping up. So they're investing in clean energy, they're embracing these digital tools, and they're rethinking about how and where things will be made. I'm also really encouraged by how sustainability is no longer a side project. So it's really becoming core business strategy. And I know at Schneider Electric, it has been for a long time. But it's great to see others adopting similar practices, whether that's net zero factories, circular product design. I think UK industry is really starting to show that green and growth can go hand in hand. So for me, I'm really optimistic about the future. I think we're definitely on our journey to be more efficient, resilient, and inclusive.
And if you could leave our listeners and viewers with one insight into how to approach industrial transformation, potentially those that are at the very start of that conversation, what would that be?
Hmm. I think it's don't treat it as a one-time project. So it's not something you're gonna like, here's the 6-month, year time frame, we're gonna accomplish industrial transformation.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. I think you really need to be open to change, to investing in people as much as the technology, and staying focused on the long-term vision versus just the short-term goals. Whether that's digitization, decarbonisation, and workforce development. The most successful transformations that we see are the ones that are inclusive, are intentional, and they are built to evolve. So they really understand the changing needs of the customers, but also the changing landscape externally, and make sure to approach it. So I think if you approach it with curiosity, a bit of collaboration, we won't just adapt to the future, we're going to help shape it.
Amazing. And I guess the industrial strategy should be forming part of people's conversations, understanding it, where businesses can benefit from it. And obviously, time will only tell as to how successful it is and the impact that it has. But certainly for now, at the very least, it's providing businesses with that clarity that they've sought for so long, particularly from a UK manufacturing perspective. It's setting people up on the right path, isn't it?
Exactly.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kristin. It's been
Thank
lovely
you for
chatting
having
to
me,
you.
Lauren.
The industrial strategy is just one of the topics that will be discussed and debated at the MTC's Digital Manufacturing Today event, which is taking place on the 22nd of October here at the MTC in Coventry. It's free to attend, but the event is limited by venue capacity. So please make sure you don't miss out on your chance to be involved in that conversation. Head to digitalmanufacturingtoday.com for more information. We will be back next month for our latest episode of Industry Today. And please make sure you search for Industry Today wherever you access your podcasts for past episodes. Thanks again for joining us.